Hello, and welcome back to a Mr. Anderson's Let's Play of Jake Hunter, Detective Story, Memories of the Past. This will be my second time trying to record this first episode, since any time I decide to try to mess with the sound quality, it never records the sound. But now I know that it is truly recording. Testing, testing, testing. Anyway, Jake Hunter's a pretty simple visual novel. It's got some really interesting characters, pretty decent artwork, and decent music. That's why I couldn't let the first episode go without a soundtrack to it. Though Jake Hunter has a very, very long history. It's actually one of the longest running visual novels. It's got about 19 main installments and 25 mobile games. A lot of titles. Like I said, it's a pretty simple visual novel, straight to the point, murder mystery. I love me my murder mysteries. There is no like right or wrong decisions in this game. You pretty much just keep going. The game will tell you whether you're doing something wrong or not. But you know, get ready for some pretty pulpy detective fiction. Now, there's two different versions of this game. There is Detective Jake Hunter and Jake Hunter Unleashed, which is more of like a comedy version of Jake Hunter with, like, you know, your chippy characters, so on and so forth. Jake Hunter loves to smoke, and I don't blame him. So let's get on with this. Now, there is a few older titles that were first released in 1987. I believe the first, like, three are the older titles that were originally released in 1987, around that time period. And then there is, I think, one new one that is specifically made for the DS, I believe. I did a lot better job explaining this in the other video I did, but hey, you know, you can't win. Whatever. Let's do this. So we're going to play the first episode, The Petty Murder of a Fragile Heart. The guy sort of looks like a wrestler with those boots.
Are you quite sure? You found no witnesses?
No, sir. We've interviewed a number of people nearby, but... What a beautiful place, this park. Espicio Central Park. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it. Deep in the heart of Espicio. I can never figure that out. How could this happen?
Very well. I believe I understand the situation, officer. Carry on.
I could smell the warm odor of fresh-cut grass. Summer was coming. I'm afraid it may prove difficult for us to discover who did this to you, my dear. Your life ended too soon. I only hope you have found your way to a better place. The beauty of the park faded away around the crumpled body before me. File 1. The Petty Murder of a Fragile Heart. This is another character. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but we'll get there when we get there. Sir? Huh? What is it? Yulia? Julia? I don't know. Is this some kind of weird Russian spelling of Julia? Whatever. You guys let me know. I'm going to call her Yulia until, I don't know, I get told otherwise. More coffee, sir? Oh, yes. I will, as I take a sip of my coffee. Eh? Oh, seems like I drank it all. Can't imagine how that escaped my eagle eye. Jake Hunter likes to stroke himself a little bit, saying that he's got an eagle eye and everything. It's pretty silly. Sorry, I had a little bit of a cough there. Is something on your mind? Not really. I was just thinking about the agency. I was just thinking about how long I've been in this line of work. You've been in business for some time before you hired me, right? Not for long, and it was looking like I wasn't going to be in it for much longer when you showed up. The Hunter Detective Agency was about to go belly up when you walked your pretty self through the door. He also likes to throw out weird, I don't know, compliments towards all the women in the game. A month later, and I would have been out my ass. You always say the nicest things, Mr. Hunter. Yeah, he's got a really weird way of, like, showing love towards people. He's one of those people that, like, they call you babe, or sweetheart, or hun. It kind of bothers the fuck out of me. But it's alright. I like Mr. Hunter overall and all. Yulia Marks, the only other person on my payroll besides myself. Back then, she'd only been with me a year or so, but she was already as important to the agency as a good scotch. Is there something wrong with my face, sir? You're staring at me. The glamorous interior of the Hunter Detective Agency, deep in the dingy heart of Tripudio District. That's another word. I don't know if I know how to pronounce. This game likes its I's and O's. Spicio, Tripudio, Oreo. It's my office and my apartment. It's not a very classy joint, but it's quiet, and let's face it, cheap. Cigs and booze ain't free. That's true. Expensive as fuck to drink and smoke. My building squats at the end of one of Tripudio's crowded streets, like a crotchety old geezer squinting down at the trunks. A lot of people got a lot of opinions about this town, but I can't say I've ever managed to find another one like this. For what it's worth. Probably brings them good business, if it's so seedy. Outside of this door is the old wooden stairwell leading up to my office. So as long as they're on the level, my clients usually come through the door. Unfortunately, there haven't been many clients of either sort in a while. Alright. Let's talk to Yulia. Me. Hey, Yulia. How would you describe me? Let me see. I don't believe I can sum you up in one word. Wow. Very good description. Hey, Yulia. How would you describe yourself? Me? Sexy as hell? Well, I'm a patient person. A very patient person. Yulia Marks sort of reminds me of Moneypenny. Sort of that woman that's in reach but never obtainable by the main protagonist. You know, like James Bond never sleeps with Moneypenny. Nor does Jake Hunter, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know anything about it unless it's in one of the games that were never released in America. The agency. How are the books looking? We had a few clients a couple months back, so we must be doing okay, right? Well, yes, more or less. I'm just happy we're no longer in the red. You should be too, sir. Just as I was reaching for my last cig, I heard the distinctive clump, familiar pair of heavy feet on the stairs outside my door. What was I going to do? Ignore it. Let's look at the entrance. I could hear the faint, heavy breathing of a big old man as the door swung open. Doesn't even knock. I recognized that chubby old geezer anywhere. Hey, King. Or it's more, I believe it's Ben Kingsley. What's a respectable police officer like yourself doing at a place like this?
Jake, I'm here on business.
Kingsley's always reminded me of Poirot a little bit. I think it's something to do with his mustache.
There's been a murder.
I had to admit it. It'd been a while since I've seen King like this. What was I going to do? Let's talk to Kingsley about the job. Business, eh, old man? I got a feeling it's a little more than that. How about you level with me, King?
Yeah, a woman was found dead this morning in Spicio Central Park. We haven't confirmed anything, but I suspect it's murder.
I gotta shake my head a lot when I say this, when I do his voice. Because I gotta get that with my cheeks wiggling.
I've got this dreadful feeling about this case. is going to get a great deal worse before it gets better. So I thought I'd see if I could bring you in before things get too complicated.
You mean before you have to do any work? What do I want to talk about? Me. I like me a whole lot of me. Hey, King. How would you describe me?
Jake, my boy, this really isn't the time.
Why give me the option? About Yulia. Hey, King. How would you describe Yulia?
Jake, my boy, this really isn't the time. But she has a sweet ass and a weird name.
Hey, King. How would you describe yourself?
Jake, my...
Oh, yeah. The case.
The victim was a young woman by the name of Mary Taylor. At 7 a.m. this morning, the groundskeeper found her body on the lawn of Hospicio Central Park.
What did I want to talk about? Mary Taylor. Unfortunately, we don't know much about her as of yet. This cough won't let me be.
Her driver's license was discovered on her person, but we know her name and address, but little else. She was found wearing clothes that lead me to believe she may have been a hostess at a bar. Here, Jake, I have a picture of the unfortunate woman. Hold on to it. You might find some use for it in your investigation.
Oh, cool. Now you got a picture of a hot chick.
We're investigating it now, but our preliminary investigation suggests that strangulation was the cause of death. Miss Martin is the forensics lead on the case. She should be able to tell you more, plus awkwardly flirt with you. She should be in the crime lab at the station. I must say, Jake, that's the odd thing about this case. As you know quite well, there's a number of transients living in Hospicio Park. A number of them seem to camp near the area where the body was found. But none of the interviews turned up any witnesses to the murder, besides there being transient semen all over the corpse. How do I know it's transient? One taste and you can tell.
Doesn't that strike you as rather odd? Let me get this straight, old man. You're saying you want me to take over your case?
I'm afraid that's correct. The lack of witnesses has me worried. But more than that, I've just got a bad feeling about this one. I'm worried it may be more than I can handle, so I was hoping to secure your assistance. What do you say, Jake, old boy? Will you accept my request?
Sure. Alright, King, but you owe me one. I'm your man.
Really?
You sound surprised that a detective who works for money would turn down money.
Oh, that is a load off my mind. I don't know how to thank you, Jake.
Let's not count our chickens before they hatched.
Don't be ridiculous. In this kind of case, I doubt the police will be of much use to anyone. I'm counting on you, Jake.
Well, let's look what we got. This is our inventory. These have my name, phone number, and the agency's address printed on them. They're business cards. I give them to people who help me with my investigations. You don't really use a lot of your items in these games, trust me. Vera, my cell phone. Next to Yulia, she's the most important woman in my life. She lets me get in touch with anyone, anytime, anywhere. I'd be lost without her. Still, I didn't need her just then. A picture of Mary Taylor, the murder victim. King had told me that the police thought she might have worked in a bar, judging by her clothing. Not only that, but we can also take a moment to smoke a cigarette, and we have a notebook. And basically, the notebook goes over things you've already seen. So, let's go to the scene of the murder. All right, no sense putting it off the inevitable. Keep the home fires burning, you doll face. Yes, sir. She has a very odd face, but her image does improve throughout the entire series, of course, with there being improvements to artists and all that good stuff.
Wait, Jake. Come on, King.
I was all fired up.
One of my colleagues, Vincent Lewis, was inquiring about you. He'd like to meet you sometime.
Dude, well, I'm okay with people being homosexuals. Nah, I'm good.
If you do go by the station, would you be so kind to pay him a visit?
Inquiring about me. What did you tell him, King?
Oh, don't be such a wet blanket.
That is not... I've been hearing that term a lot recently. Wet blanket.
Richard is a good man.
I feel like I've been set up on a date here. Fine. How about you introduce us sometime, then?
Thank you, Jake. If you two chaps hit it off, you can go out for a couple of drinks or something.
Wow. I stepped out of the office and made tracks towards the Spitio Central Park. Why does this guy want to meet me so bad? This Vincent Lewis. I had to admit it, I'd been on walks through the part of the park where the poor girl had been died more than once. Thinking that someone had died there creeped me out a little. Maybe after I figured all this out, I'd be able to enjoy the park again.
Yeah, goddamn that woman for dying in my park.
I stepped up to the park entrance, just as my cigarette hit the bud. I flicked it away and pulled out another as I surveyed the area. He's a bit of a chain smoker. Sitting in the middle of the drab gray city, the vibrant green of the park almost hurts your eyes. It's hard to believe there's a place like this in Spitio. It's one of the few places free of the hustle and bustle and stress of city life. It was a damn shame a murder had to ruin all that. Let's inspect the park. As I looked around the park, a man with a large broom caught my attention. I figured he had to be the park's groundkeeper. We'll just keep going. Park map. A map of the park. Spitio Central Park eats up a huge chunk of real estate right in the middle of the city. I don't know why half of it isn't condos by now. The song, I think the song by Radiohead, Fake Plastic Trees, was about something like that. I knew from King that the scene of the crime scene was right down that path, but I couldn't see it from where I was. There were too many trees in the way. The park's groundskeeper, Mario. King told me this guy had been the first person to find Mary Taylor's body. I figured it couldn't hurt to ask about him. Trash can. I didn't know what I was expecting to find. Had I really gotten desperate enough to start digging through the trash? Now, the one annoying thing that this game does do is it just keeps options on the screen. It should just eliminate them as you go through them if you don't have anything more to do with it. But I guess that would make the game too quick and too easy. Ah, Mr. Matthews. Dave Matthews. What did I want to talk about? The murder. Now, the voice I chose for this guy is actually kind of like hard on me, but you know, I'm just going to do it anyway.
The murder? I don't know. I don't want to remember anything about it, to be honest with you. I found it while I was working my early morning rounds. I was walking around the park as usual when I saw something strange on the grass. At first, I thought it was just garbage someone had dumped in the park. When I took a closer look, I saw that it was a woman's body. I couldn't believe it. I've never seen a dead person. I thought this might happen one day, but still wasn't prepared for it. I felt so bad for her. I hope the bastard that did this gets caught, and soon.
The murder.
I found it while I was making my rounds early morning. My early morning rounds around 7 a.m. There's nothing out of the ordinary until I found the poor girl's body. Please find whoever did this. It was quiet. The park's always quiet that early in the morning. There are a few homeless people wandering around.
Murder scene. Yeah, always okay, we've read that already.
The body. She looked like she was just sleeping. So peaceful. It was horrible that she had to die, but at least she didn't look like she was in pain when she died.
At least we didn't find her strung to a tree in like some kind of weird red dress
They live in small groups all over the park. The homeless people, that is. Each one has its own territory.
So they mostly keep to the same area?
Yeah. They got spooked pretty easy, though. Go easy on them. There's a couple of incidents with the cops in the last few years, so they're pretty wary of any kind of law enforcement.
Thanks, pal. I'll keep that in mind. Alright, I think we did what we were gonna do with him. Let's move. Crime scene. I had a hunch that there was more I could learn from the groundskeeper. This is what it does if you're not done with the area. I figured it wouldn't hurt to ask him a few more questions. Which is nice, because sometimes you could be just wandering around aimlessly.
A group of 3, Taggart, Aldenberg, and Stevenson, live in the area next to a crime scene. All 3 of them sound like motorcycle manufacturers, if you know what I mean. Ever since the murder, they're the only ones who'll even go near that part of the park. The 3 of them are always together. They're probably around the crime scene somewhere.
Thanks, pal. I like a guy who's on the up and up. Alright, let's do this. I think we can go now. I stuck a cigarette between my teeth and trudged off down the path. Before long, the trees opened up and I found myself in a secluded clearing. Hospicio Central Park. A woman had died there just the night before. Really? We didn't know. I didn't know that. Why am I even here? I was only a couple hundred yards from the park's entrance, but I couldn't see through the trees. The tents and boxes, the park's more permanent residents, blended into the tree line like they belonged here. Aqualung sat on a bench, eyeing little girls with bad intent. Let's look around. I could see a couple of bums wandering in this part of the park. The groundskeeper had told me they generally kept to their turf and didn't mingle much. In other words, a couple of these ragamuffins should have been around when the girl bought the farm. The grass where she'd been laying was still flat, and the area was trampled by the rough feet of the cops. Poor grass. The groundskeeper had told me it looked like she was just sleeping when he found her. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a couple of scruffy-looking individuals staring at me intently. I figured they had to be the 3 homeless fellows the groundskeeper had mentioned. I had a feeling they weren't going to make it easy for me, but I knew I had to try talking to them anyway. Now let's look around a little bit more. The trees! The trees have eyes! The trees and thick undergrowth enclosed this part of the park. The owls were not what they seemed. Frantic as Hospicio can be, I had always found this park to be a relaxing place. It would be a while before I found the park a relaxing place again. Alright, let's talk to these bums. Murder? I don't know. I don't know anything about that. Please leave us alone. Us, huh?
I don't know. I don't know anything about any murder. Why should I tell you anything?
I told you I don't know. I really don't know anything. Please leave us alone.
Hey, who do you think you are?
Dude, your face. You look like a fucking zombie, dude. When I say I don't know, it means I don't know. You probably look like Joan Rivers' vagina before she died. I mean, look at that wrinkly mess. There's not much plastic surgery can do about that. When I say I don't know, it means I don't know. I wonder what it would have been like to have sex with Joan Rivers, like, in her, like, really older years. Like, oh, yeah, take a ride on this carpet. I wouldn't say no. When I say I don't know, it means I don't know. When I say no, it means no. You don't belong here. Mind your own business. What's the bother? Who do I want to talk to? Don't blame us. I don't know anything. He's gonna say I a lot.
You don't belong here. Mind your own business. Drop it already, asshole.
He can't treat us like this.
Homeless or not, we still got rights. Don't tell him anything, alright?
Looks like this guy's calling the shots. Who's getting nowhere fast with these geniuses? I figured it'd be best to give them some time to cool down, then come back and talk to him again with some cheap booze. Let's move. Let's go to the police department. I wasn't going to get anything out of these bums. The way they'd acted around me had been curious, but it was rapidly becoming clear that I wasn't going to get anything out of them. I'd been so far in my own head that I almost walked right past the police station. With jurisdiction over a district like Tripudio, it was no surprise that the station was It was no surprise that the station was as busy as a hive full of black and white bees. Wow, that's the first time I noticed this typo, and I've played this before. Cops, lawyers, thugs, civilians, a teeming mass of humanity squeezed through the door, pushing a second toward back out into the streets. A seedy hive of scum and villainy you will never find. This aging building had been King's home away from home for going on 30 years. To this day, I still don't know how the old man's lasted this long. Let's inspect the building. Entrance. Sure enough, it was the door to Hospicio police station. And you'll notice that it seems like Jake Hunter has a problem with the police departments. Anybody who's on the level had to head through those doors to get into the building. I mean, where else would they head in? Would they be Spider-Man and crawl through a fucking window on the second floor? I thought King had something about Miss Martin in the crime lab. I figured that would be a good place to start as any. I mean, and also too, if the janitors walk out the back door and they come in through the back door, that means they're like seedy individuals.
Yeah, I gotta bring this trash out. Then I gotta enter back through the back door, if you know what I mean.
I needed to talk to the kid at the reception desk before I started wandering around the police department. I had a feeling the cops wouldn't take too kindly to civilian traipsing around about their station. It said road safety campaign. Being a cop ain't easy. A police station's never a very welcoming place, but that day it felt like the whole place was on edge. The sky. I could see a mess of dark clouds gathering on the horizon. It looked like rain was on the way. I'd been in the station plenty of times, not always for good reasons, but it was a rare day that it felt as tense as it did then. Let's speak to the officer. You'd like to visit Miss Martin at the Crimes Laboratory? Do you have an appointment today, sir? Felt like he was giving me a line, but I laid out the facts for the cop anyway. I understand. I'll let her know you're here. She should be with you in a moment. I'm sorry, but Miss Martin said that she wasn't expecting you. Is that so? Fine. Can you just get Detective Kingsley on the line? It seems Detective Kingsley isn't in right now. I'm sorry, but without proper authorization, I can't let you through here. Oh. What do I do now? Sadness. As I was standing in front of the station trying to figure out what to do, I noticed a middle-aged man checking me out. See, this whole exchange right here between, well, I don't want to give too much away, but this is so odd. Something in my gut told me he was the fuzz, and was about to book him when he opened his mouth.
Hey, you're Jake, aren't you?
What? How did you know my name?
I knew it.
He's got a butt chin. Bothers the fuck out of me.
You're just like King said.
King? Oh, you shouldn't sneak up on a fellow like that. Who was he? He was King's colleague, of course. Who the heck did you think I was? I don't know, some stalker who's checking me out? Ah, shoot, I haven't introduced myself, have I? I'm Vincent Lewis, one of the detectives in King's division. Should have figured that out earlier, and I call myself a detective. Now that we've got familiarities out of the way, you think I can ask for a favor? I just need a little help for one of the Hospicio's finest. Huh? Well, tell me what you need, son, and I'll see what I can do. What did I need help with? Getting into the building. I see. Trying to get into the crime lab, eh, son? Yeah. I'm kind of in a pinch if you can get me in. I'll owe you one. I wouldn't say that to Vincent Lewis. He was checking you out earlier. No problem. Leave it to me. Oh, by the way, next time you see King, tell that old coot he needs to start carrying a cell phone. I can never get a hold of him when I really need to. Well then, I'll go have a talk with the receptionist for you. All right, son? Thanks, Mr. Lewis. I owe you one. I'm not your son. Don't worry about it. Can you just buy me a drink next time? Maybe give me a little kiss? I have a feeling this guy's like a real close talker. Like when he talks to you, he's like right in your face. Buy me a drink next time. I finally stepped through the door and took a moment to light up while taking a look around the inside of a police station. I guess this is the time when you could still smoke inside of a building. The tension in the room was so thick you could cut it with a knife and spread it on your toast. I took off at a brisk trot in the direction of the crime lab, none too keen on staying in the lobby any longer than I had to. I had a strange feeling I was being watched by Vincent Lewis. I stepped through the door of the crime lab and stuffed my cigarette into the crowded ashtray on the front desk. I'd never been in the lab before, but I always seen it in my head as a dim room stuffed full of odd contraptions and scientific papers. It wasn't quite the way I pictured it. The smoke from my dead cigarette was rising from the ashtray when the most gorgeous dame I've seen in the lab's coat sidled up to me. Pardon me? Are you Jake? Yeah, that's my name, sweetheart. You know, this is the second time today I've been asked that, although I'm much happy to hear from you. See, Jake's the kind of guy that, you know, you're sort of playing wingman to, and every time he opens his mouth to a woman, you sort of go, oh my goodness. Like, he's so cool and relaxed most of the time, but when he sees a woman, he just puts his foot right in his mouth. It's disgusting. You sort of shake your head and you're like, you wince in pain. With these cheesy pickup lines. Oh good, I thought so. I like how she just shrugs him off. I'm sorry about before. Mr. Kingsley told me you'd be coming by, but would you believe it? I completely forgot your name, so... I take it I have the pleasure of speaking to Miss Martin, then. That's right. I wouldn't say no. I mean, she's probably a good-looking woman, but her lips look rather odd. I'm Samantha Martin, but feel free to call me Samantha, or Sam. Some people call me Sam. I just started here last month. It's just been one crisis after another. In fact, I think I slept here last night. I woke up here at least. Do you have the... Is it often that you have these problems where you just sort of forget where you want to sleep? You seem awfully chipper for a gal who's been put through the ringer. Well, just between the two of us, I don't really think of it as work. It's way too much fun. So, I'm guessing you want to hear about Mary Taylor, right, Mr. Hunter? What did I want to do? Inspect Sam. She had a sideways smile, and eyes that sparkled with curiosity. I couldn't quite put my finger on why, but she was a bit of an odd bird. I hadn't noticed the dark circles under her eyes when she walked up, or the slightly unkempt hair, but she was still a piece of work. Beauty was the low man on the totem pole for her, though. This girl was a scientist, through and through. If there was ever a person born for their job, it was Sam. A list of Hospicio's most wanted. A couple of rows of ugly mugs glared down at me from the wall. Ugly mugs you can certainly drink coffee from. Just like every other part of the station, the reception counter was abuzz with activity. I got the feeling it was a little noisier here than usual, probably because of the girl in the park. The murder. Well, this is a police station. Murder isn't something new. I've only been here a month, and I'm already used to it. Contusions in the neck indicate her windpipe was forced shut, and she died from asphyxiation, very similar to the David Carradine case. You worked the David Carradine case? I guess you could say she was strangled. Although, that doesn't sound very professional. We've estimated the time of death to be around midnight last night. Of course, that's from a liver temp taken from the body when we found the body, and assumed she was killed and left in the park. If she was killed somewhere else and moved or refrigerated, the time of death could be, well, anything really. If you want my opinion, though, I think midnight is pretty close. If you don't mind my asking, Mr. Detective, where were you around midnight last night? In your dreams, baby. In your dreams. Based on the bruising on her neck, the criminal's height is around 5'9", with a 15-kilogram whatever of a grip strength. The criminal's probably male. Alright, victim stuff. We found a number of her effects at the scene. They appear to be undamaged. It doesn't look like the murderer even touched them. Her clothes are in perfect shape too. Doesn't seem like there was any struggle. Which seems a little puzzling, at least to me. All the effects we recovered from the scene are on the shelf over there, if you'd like to take a look at them, Mr. Hunter. We've already finished processing them. See, that strikes me as odd. So it says two things. One, there was no struggle. So the victim must have known the perpetrator. And two, none of her stuff was touched. At least we think nothing was touched. So that tells me that the motive was not like a mugging or a big theft. Let's go look at the, where's the shelf? Belongings, here you go. I pulled on the latex gloves Sam handed me and started to pick through the victim's belongings. Even as long as I've been doing this job, I've never gotten used to touching the things the victim touched. The purse. It was a pretty ritzy purse, but there was nothing in it aside from a wallet, an accessory pouch, and a cosmetic case. You mean there was no pads? It didn't look like there was any cash missing. She had her driver's license in there as well. As I pulled out my notepad to take down the girl's address, Sam guessed at my intention. Oh, here, this is my number. If you go to her house, call me so I can let the officer on site know that you're coming. I usually I had to work a little harder for a girl's number, but I wasn't going to let this look this gift horse in the mouth. I had a feeling Sam's number would come in handy before this was all over. I don't know why I had such a hard time reading that. Her clothes were in pretty good shape for having been on a murder victim. Pretty colorful, though. They looked expensive, but they weren't exactly the kind of clothes you'd see on the street. A little too flashy for most people. Accessory pouch. In the accessory pouch was a tissue packet, a handkerchief, some pencils, and a cell phone. Rumor has it that those who keep their cell phones in their accessory pouch tend to have certain occupations. Let's look at the cell phone. We looked out. The killer hadn't taken her cell phone. In this day and age, people keep everything in their phones. This tiny piece of plastic and metal might just be the biggest lead in this case. If I was lucky, the phone would tell me who was close to her. Of course, there was the chance that she'd barely used her phone, or maybe she didn't have one, like King, and was borrowing this one. To my amazement, she had over 500 contacts. 400 contacts, wow. It looked like someone had been quite the social butterfly when she was alive. If you need that, feel free to take it. Don't worry, baby. I take what I want. I've already copied all the information that was on it to my computer. Mr. Kingsley was probably right. That thing's going to do a lot more good with you than it is with the police. Glad to know I'm so highly regarded. But come on, what makes you think the cops are going to trust a guy like me with evidence from my homicide case? Oh, I didn't expect you to be concerned about that. Hey, I'm just looking out for you, doll. If it gets out that you're passing out evidence to some private dick, you're going to be up a creek. You don't need to worry about me, Mr. Hunter. I may have only been here for a month, but there's no one in this department with the balls to fire me. We're talking about dick and balls a lot. That must be the sexual tension in the air. I wouldn't worry about King either. I honestly don't think the detectives could even function without him. Besides, only the three of us are going to know. Well, if that's the case, I suppose I don't mind if I do take this. It'll be a big help. And that was how I got my hands on Mary Teller's cell phone. I knew it'd come in handy, but I couldn't have guessed just how much. I guess we're done here. I'd seen enough. I set down the girl's effects and pulled off the latex gloves. Finished already? Oh, baby, don't be so mean. That's what I usually do here from women, though. Alright, well, I guess we can move. I had a feeling I might be able to get a little bit more out of Sam. Figured I might as well stick around and see what else she had to say. Besides, there were worse people to talk to. Much worse. Alright, Sam. What else do you have to tell me? The victim stuff. We found a... Doesn't look like the murderer even touched them. Her clothes are in perfect shape, too. Yeah. Yeah, we already saw that. Did you find anything helpful in there, Mr. Hunter? Yeah, I did actually. Thanks, sweetheart. Well, if you ever need anything, come back and see me. If you find something interesting, bring it back to the lab. I'd love to run all sorts of experiments on it. Thanks, babe. She came at us a little ham-fisted there. If I find anything interested, I'll be sure to bring it back so you can give it a good once-over. Wow. That got a little weird. I mean, we don't have to go here, but I guess we can, just to burn some time. Thanks for everything, babe. You've been a real peach. You've given me a lot to think on, so I figured it was time I'd be moving on. I got a feeling we'll be seeing each other again soon. Anytime you want, Mr. Hunter. Oh my gosh. Being the gentleman that I am, I closed the door softly behind me as I left the crime scene. I rounded a corner, and in front of me rose the Alta building. A seemingly limitless stream of humanity bustled to and fro, filling the streets and sidewalks. Tens of thousands of people walk through this intersection every day. A huge television screen loomed over the crowds, a one-way window into another world. Kids stared at their phones, killing time while they waited for lovers or friends. As I lit up a cigarette, I thought to myself that this was something very like the beating heart of Hospicio. Jake, is that you, my boy? The sound of a familiar voice caught me off guard, and I turned to see where it had come from. King, what are the odds? What did I want to do? Let's talk to King. Investigation.
How's your investigation going? You're not slacking off now, are you?
Hey. How about you tell me why you're here, old man?
Interviews, of course. I've been trying to find Mary Taylor's place of employment by showing her picture and asking around.
The murder. Did you forget the details already?
Oh, I'll tell you one more time. A body was found on the lawn of Hospicio Park approximately around 7 a.m. in the morning. The victim was a woman by the name of Mary Taylor. Mr. Matthews, the park's groundskeeper, was the first person to find her body. There were no witnesses. Unfortunately, there are no major leads on her yet. All we know so far is her name and home address. Did you go visit Miss Martin? She's a bit unusual, but I must say I find that quite endearing. Although I don't know how well the two of you will get along.
Well, I mean, she already threw some really hard innuendos at me, so pretty sure we got along pretty well.
I've tried talking to them as well, but they weren't very cooperative. I don't believe they're going to warm up to the police anytime soon. But don't let it get you down, old boy. You'll get your chance. You want to know more about me? Well, I shouldn't say too much about myself at my age. After all, it's accomplishments, not words, that define a man. Wouldn't you agree, Jake?
Agreed. Be humbled? Be humble and never be humbled. The streets and sidewalks are filled with every kind of person imaginable. What might seem odd elsewhere was pretty much par for the course at Alta Building. See, I have a feeling Alta Building's much like Walmart. What might seem odd elsewhere is pretty much par for Walmart. Altavision. With its vibrant colors, the huge screen almost seemed more real than the city that housed it. Like always, it was a strange color between blue and gray. That's Suspicio sky for you. It's always some sort of mishmash of color, just like the city itself.
Alright. Leaving already, my boy? I'll just get back to my interviews then.
Yeah, we'll leave. We'll go back to our detectives agency and think on the matter. I'm really happy that this works so well with the mouse and keyboard. I said goodbye to King and started off toward my office. Oh, welcome back, sir. Thanks, sweetheart. How did the investigation go today? I think I've picked up a few leads. I'm gonna have a smoke and try to make sense of them. Alright, coffee should be done in a moment. Would you like a cup? That sounds great. Thanks. I dug out my lighter as Julie walked back to the kitchen and lit up. Nothing like a good smoke to make you feel right as rain. All the tension just melts away. As I watched the smoke curl upward in the afternoon sunlight, I started to mull over everything that happened. At this point in the game, you basically just recap everything you already heard, just to basically reinforce the information that you were given throughout it. This is pretty staple in these kind of detective mysteries. I mean, you see it a lot in Hotel Dusk and Last Window, and a few other games as well. First, regarding the crime scene. Where did the murder take place? Air Conditioning Park. That's right. It was Suspicio Central Park, in West Suspicio. And the name of the victim is? What was the victim's name? No, Yulia is my... Oh my gosh. Yulia is my receptionist, Mary Taylor. The victim was a woman by the name of Mary Taylor. When was the body found? Early morning. That's right. She'd been found early that morning. The person who found the body first was Mr. Matthews. That's right. The first person to find the body was the groundskeeper. According to Sam, the time the murder took place was 12 a.m. today. Yeah, right around 12 a.m. that morning. Based on the condition of the body and the belongings left at the scene of the crime. What was the killer's motive? Neither. I had to be honest with myself. I really had no idea. At the time of the murder, who must have been near the scene? Homeless people. That's right. The bums who lived near the crime scene should have been around, but they were staying mum. King said the police still hadn't found any witnesses. I had to admit, not having any witnesses seemed unnatural. Bling! It seemed a little odd that nothing had turned up. There was something else that had been bothering me. Based on the victim's clothing, it seemed likely that she was a bar hostess. Something that we don't really have around here. Yeah, in America at least. Yeah, bar hostesses seem the most likely. In addition to that, based on the number of contacts in her phone, her circle of friends was probably large. She must have known a lot of people. That being the case, I felt like there was something missing from her belongings. She should have had a business card. That's right, she didn't have a business card case. Everything fit more or less. I didn't have a lot of facts, but the ones I did have were starting to come together. It was looking like I would be paying a second visit to the park. I figured it couldn't hurt to stop by Mary's apartment either. I needed to know what was going on with those bums, and why Mary didn't have a business card case. Just as I was about to put out my cigarette and take a drink of the coffee, Yulia was handing to me. A sharp noise shattered the afternoon tranquility of my office, like a bullet into a pane of glass. It took me a few seconds to realize that it was coming from my pocket, from the cell phone Sam had taken off of Mary's body. A call for a dead woman. I couldn't get the phone out of my pocket fast enough. This call could be the break I needed. But it was only a text message, and the phone showed only an address for the sender, no name. My cigarette had gone out, but I kept the cold blood clamped in my teeth as I scrolled down to the message. Like the best text messages, it was succinct. Just a single word. Help. Is this a message from the victim? Or was this a message from someone else that knew the victim? To be continued. And that is correct. I think we'll have a save here and call the episode. I hope you guys are enjoying. This is a little bit more slower paced and slow burn type of mystery that I rather quite enjoy. A little bit more relaxing. I hope you guys are enjoying. If you are, please drop a like, a comment, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe because it makes me feel good. And make sure you have a good night. Good night.